And looking at NAS here on the 12-month chart, that means each and every single candle that you see here represents 1 year. Okay, and then of course we have the pandemic sell-off candle that came and mitigated off of this huge imbalance right here in the middle. Right, we filled that in typically like halfway, and then price created a bullish engulfing candle. Right, I'm just going over basic candlestick terminology right here. Stick to the basics, master the basics, right? So yeah, we had a bullish engulfing candle. Not only did we, engulf the previous sell candle, but we did close above the previous highs here as well. So when that happened, that of course indicates that price wants to continue bullish, right? We closed above the high, the previous high, okay, from 2 years ago. We barely closed above it, as you see here. It doesn't matter how small the full body candle closes above the highs or the lows, as long as it's a full body candle. Okay, it has to be a full body candle. It can't be a wick. It can't be a wick. It has to be the full body. Okay, and then once that happened, we came back a little bit deeper into the previous candlestick and then took off. So once we go down to the 1 month and you look at it more closer, this is that same area, right? And then we had the bearish year essentially, and then this was that engulfing right here. It engulfed it right here, that same 12-month engulfing candle. As you see the date at the bottom, Friday, December 1st, right? That was that last monthly candle that closed above the previous highs. Okay, once that happened, the very next candle we came deeper and then price took off, and now we're looking here at 20K. So from the previous all-time high until where it is now, or 20K essentially, that's going to be about 19%, 20%. That's over 3,000 pips, right? From 16,700 to 20,000, right? Super solid move. Okay, and now we're hovering in this area. And most people are telling us, hey, you know what? We're at all-time highs. The market could easily just sell off, boom, and just tank, or price could very well just continue the move above, do its thing, and just create more bullish action, right? There's two options. We don't really know just yet, and that's why I trade market structure. I stick to the basics. If I see accumulation Wyckoff schematics, guess what? I'll take that. If I see distribution schematics, I'll look at it. I can take it. I have taken it. I don't mind taking it, but over my 4 years of experience in trading these markets, I'd rather just stick to the trend. As we can see here, it's been pretty bullish. I mean, of course, we had some sell-offs. This was probably the biggest sell-off that I see here, because even back in 2020, we didn't even get that massive of a sell-off. But that's 32%. I believe this is the same percentage actually. Around the same percentage. It just looks a little bit bigger. This is around 32%. Price dropped and this one dropped about 37 to 40%. Looks a little bit bigger, but that's because it's probably more volume and more money over here. Okay, so that does make sense. And now when we zoom in to current price action, again, we're still on the monthly. And the reason why I'm just going to keep zooming in on this, because price hasn't really moved, but we did close above the previous high. I did mention that before. I want to see these highs attacked. I want to see these highs attacked up here. I want to see price clear that before I see a drop for NAS. But I'm not here to predict what the market wants to do. I'm just here to look at what it's telling me. If the market is giving me distribution, which technically it is, right? Technically it is. So it may be, a good idea to sell in this area. So we'll see. I do see buys as well, though, which is very annoying. I see distribution and I see accumulation. But we have a high point, a low point, and then we did sweep above these highs. And I'm going wick to wick. Okay, I'm going from wick to wick. Okay, so we had price came up, gave us a high right there with that wick, and then a low with this wick, and then eventually the highest wick we have. That's the head. And then we had a massive change of character, tapping into this previous accumulation zone here, and then price worked its way back up to the same area, even mitigated some of this imbalance, swept some of these highs, sold off once again, but this time we created a higher low, right? We have a low here, and then a higher low, and then another higher low, right? So market is giving us a bullish uptrend, and then because of this higher low, we did break above these highs, right? Price moved higher, okay, and then we did end up breaking above these previous highs, and now we're hovering here. So I'm looking here currently for what is price doing? What is price doing here? And as we can see, we have the weekly imbalance that so far so good has been respected. So when I go down to the daily chart, I'm still seeing this here. And again, if I'm looking at this on the daily, you see market structure more clear. Okay, but you do have, again, you have the high, you have the low, boom, that's the head. We did a massive change of character here actually, because these lows broke beneath here with a full body candle, came back for the retest, give you a chance to get in, and then sold off dramatically. Price came back up, and when it worked its way back up, we did close above these highs here. Okay, and then of course price came back down once more, gave us even more setups as we see, took us to the next level, eventually closing above these highs, came back. Now we're in that daily or that weekly imbalance that we saw there. Price is here. So we'll see if price wants to respect this and continue bullish, or come down lower, hitting these lower zones. If you do draw the Fibonacci from these lows here to the highs, we see that we're not even at the minimum pullback requirement. You always want to be at the minimum pullback requirement, which is at least 50%. That's going to give you the better odds of the trade. If you are buying in here, which we are currently in here buying, which I may just close out these buys and be a little bit more patient and don't try to force it, and just allow for price to go ahead and just maybe work its way lower, right? Go ahead, maybe work your way lower if that's what you want to do. And then we'll catch buys here at the 50%. Maybe we'll even get something here in the imbalance. Who knows? But yeah, these will probably be better. If we do go higher, I may take some sells here around 20K. Only because we do have daily and weekly distribution. You know, we are kind of high to be buying. If I go ahead and reverse this, put it for the sells, we see here that price is in the 71%. Right? We are holding up very aggressive. So let's go to the 4-hour and see what's really holding us up. We've been consolidating here for the past 3 days, since the beginning of the month, October 1st. We've been here just stuck. And to me, this is dangerous because this is building up liquidity. So I want to see liquidity get swept either at the lows or the highs before making the move. To me, this is, again, equal lows, equal highs, support, resistance, liquidity, whatever you want to call it. If you don't know where liquidity is, then you probably are the liquidity. And I'd rather not be the liquidity. So let's let this build up. Let's let the retail traders enter and exit in here. We want to see price either sweep the lows and take off, and then once price comes back down, we'll take those, or vice versa. We will allow price to do its thing, create that liquidity, and then we sweep the highs once more, tapping into 20, and then filling in some of this imbalance and continuing to sell off. Boom. We can see that as well. So I'd rather just be patient. I've just exited all my positions here because, yes, I do trust the setup, but at the same time, after doing more, checking of the charts and back testing, and even drawing the Fibonacci, stick to the basics. Don't overthink it. Again, if you go to the store and buy clothes or groceries or food or anything, you want to get 50% off. You want to get at least half off. You want to get that discount. I'd rather take the discount or, to be more patient. So I'm exercising that as we speak. There's, more buy setups here as well. If we go down to the 1 hour time frame, you'll see it better. But there's another buy setup down here. Not only do we have this one, the one I've been going over, boom, break above, and price is doing its thing. Or if this doesn't hold, we also have this one here, consolidation, low, high, sweep it. It's not always going to look perfect. Sometimes it may look a little funky. Like if we really zoom in here, again, the buy setup that we look for is a low, a high, and then we sweep the lows, break above the highs, retest, and then price goes. That's typically what we look for in every buy scenario. Boom. Boom. And then stop loss always here at the wick. That's your entry, right? From the highs all the way until the stop loss. This whole area, that's going to be your entry. Of course, you can be a super sniper and, look in these zones. Maybe you have a starting point or an order block or an imbalance or institutional candle, whatever you want to call it. It'll be somewhere in this area. I'm not going to get too technical because you want to master the basics, right? If you can identify this basic structure, then, after you can identify this on the charts effortlessly without second guessing yourself and being able to mark it up, then that's when, I would recommend going in there and finding like the super technical, extra super sniper entries. That's just my recommendation. You can do whatever you want. And then if you draw the fib from the lows, right? If this was a low, this low was so strong and so powerful. There was so much volume and buyers here that it was strong enough to break above these highs. So when you see that happen, you want to draw the fib from that low to the high that was created. And again, what are we waiting for? What did I say? You want to wait for that 50% discount. Of course, once you get into the 71, 786, 886, that's when you'll probably find the institutional candles or the starting points or the order blocks or the imbalances or whatever you want to call it. But the 50% right there, that's the minimum requirement for your setup to be like super solid. Like that's like an A+ setup. If you don't wait for this 50%, maybe it's like a B, but you want to get A's, right? I'll leave that there. So now as we go back to this 1 hour example, again, like I said, it may not be the prettiest. Yeah, we have some liquidity here. Okay, and then we have a nice low that swept these lows. We did break above, but technically this is still a low and this is a high, and we swept even more. So this was a setup, a buy setup that, we had liquidity, we swept the lows, broke above. So maybe you wanted to take a trade here and then you ended up getting stopped out. But we have another setup here as well, right? And then once price did come lower, this buy setup was nothing more than just liquidity that had to get clapped in order for price to go higher. And it did. We barely broke above these highs with a body candle and then struggled to stay up. So when price did come back down, it respected. That's the shoulder, that's the head or the spring, broke above, retested, came back again, and then took off. And then what happened after that? Price came and gave us more accumulation. It gave us more of the setup. It gave us more of the same thing. And as we see, more liquidity. We sweep the lows, break above, retest once. More liquidity, sweep the lows, make equal lows, break above these highs, come back for the retest, break above these highs right here, come back for the retest, fly one more time, and then started to give us distribution, and then boom, nasty change of character, broke beneath these lows, came back to retest once, sold, twice, sold, 3 times, sold, keep in mind, if you look left to get right, we're still in this buy setup. That's why you see prices struggling here, because we have distribution, heavy imbalance, sellers everywhere, but then you also have the buyers. So in that situation, I like to stick to the overall trend of the market, which is bullish. But at the same time, you have to understand that we are pretty high up as well. And that's why sometimes you got to zoom out. Now, we are pretty high. Price could hold, though. Price could hold that. I just would rather catch a more solid move. It's been 3 days. The fact that we haven't been moving it's actually annoying. So I'd rather for more liquidity and more volume to be introduced. So once we get a sweep, we'll take that. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. We might get a nasty sell-off, or maybe if that happens, cool. And then, next week we'll take the buys, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here. I really want to see NAS, break above these highs. That's what I really want to see. We'll see if that happens. Super excited, but let's get it. Oh wait, actually, I'll show you guys the trade that we're in right now. Well, the trade that we were in. And that's another reason why I was consolidating. This was the 30-minute setup that I was in this trade since right here. Or no, it had to be over here because the setup didn't even happen yet. But it was right over here. Right, we had the setup. And of course, you've probably seen this already on the other videos. But boom, the low, the high, sweep it. Barely break above. You could have taken that. And then boom, broke above once again. Came back into the zone. And it's been in the zone for a while. It's been in the zone for the past 3 days. Consolidating. But it's been giving us more buy setups. Like, it hasn't really given us any crazy distribution. Right? We're just still here. Sweep that again. Then we had news today. Broke above. Came back for the retest. But I don't like the fact that we didn't really break major structure. Like, if these buys were that good, we would have broken like major structure. But we didn't really do that. And we did break above these highs back here, but we didn't even stay up there for long. Like, price broke up there for like 10 minutes, came right back down. It's not a very strong break to the upside. So sellers were still in control with that one. And they, there's a lot of selling pressure here. So if we do push up here, it probably would be a good idea to take some sells, especially if they're saying the economy is going to crash, blah, blah, blah. We'll see. If we check the fear and greed index, is like in the 65 and above. I think it's 68 this morning. And, back in my day, I did make some solid returns. Was it back here? No, it was back here. It was back here. This area right here, I sold off pretty hard. I remember this so specifically. It was like equal highs. Price sold like 30,000 or 3K. I think I took profit like right here somewhere. I was like, sheesh. Equal highs. Sold that thing to like right there. And then it started to do all this. And that's when I started to get, confused, because I don't really understand market structure the way that I do today. So when all this started happening, I was still taking sells. Okay, cool. Price went higher. I made money selling. I was selling heavily, like literally only selling, because I was so convinced the market was going to just go to shit. And then I didn't understand like accumulation or market structure and change of the character. And then started to do all this, and I was still selling. And then I think I sold like heavy right here. Got clapped. But if I had known market structure more, I would have recognized, okay, we broke above these highs. Now you want to start looking for buys. And if I understood what I knew net today back then, I would have been able to capitalize off this for sure. And if breaking above these highs weren't enough, then these highs being broken above should have been enough. Beautiful break and retest. I see a beautiful inverted right here, and liquidity sweep, break above. Never came back for the mitigation. I think it mitigated right here. Exactly. Literally. Right there. Boom. We broke above. Barely. Came back for the retest. Gone. You could have used that high or this high. Same thing. Nice little area. Yeah. Oof. Barely any drawdown. 20 pips. 30 pips, bruh. Gone. Gone. That's how the banks and institutions trade. Like no drawdown. You risk 20 pips to make 2,000. What is that? Like a 1 to something. It's up there. It's high. And then price eventually did come all the way back. Didn't even hit your entry. So if you had break even, setups, you're still good. You're still good. Price did it again. Came lower. A low, a high. Sweep the lows. Broke above. That's the setup. That's the setup. And if you just put a line at every high that was broken, if you look in backtest, this is the high, right? We broke above barely with a full body candle and then sold off tremendously. People would have lost hope, but this is also accumulation because you see this wick. Clearly something was swept. Clearly liquidity was swept. So that should be your first indication that there's a setup in there. Boom, we swept the liquidity and then we broke above, I'm assuming, these highs. Right? This is a high, right? I'm assuming we broke above these highs. So this is a valid setup. Stop loss would have been right there. So once price broke above these highs over here, right there with that full body candle, and then immediately we dropped off. People are panicking. Guess what? Dropped right back into the previous buy zone. Again, barely any drawdown. And this is why you use the whole zone. From right here, the change of character or the break of structure, use the whole zone. You don't need to find every little tiny detail because we don't know what it's going to mitigate off of. Luckily, in this situation, the order block here or the starting point, boom, the last selling candle before we broke above the highs. What happened? Clean mitigation. Boom. So very solid setup. Very solid. And then what happened? Price gone. And I don't think it's ever come back there. Yeah, it's never came back. You're just up. Currently, still, 4,000 pips. Just imagine having like 10 or 20 0.01s in there. Casually. Like leftover runners that you probably already took profit multiple times. These are just the 0.01 runners. Like still holding. Bet. Appreciate ya. And then of course, I'm not going to get too deep into it. But as you see, that process just repeats itself over and over and over. And that's what we're dealing with today. Again, just to recap, if you kind of forgot. Boom. That's the massive sell setup right here. Right, you can use the in-betweens or just the whole thing. Boom. We came back once, sold off, came back a little bit higher. Are we going to sell off? Or are we going to, maybe come into here, give us a nice little play? This is the 4 hour. Yeah, I would not mind price coming like down here. This is the 900, 800 EMA. Look how clean. I don't really use too many indicators, but when I do, sheesh, look at this. Like price came, hit that, gone. Hit it again, gone. Came a little bit below, boom. Tapped it again. So if we get that one more tap, I'll take that. It looks like it wants to give us one more tap. I do not mind. What is that? That's about 1,000 pips. Sure. I'll take that. Let the sellers eat, right? Let them cook up real quick. It will take that. Stop loss for the whole setup is here at 17.1. Why? Because we have the shoulder, liquidity, right? All this is liquidity. We swept that. Broke above. Retested. So I don't mind like another little setup. I'll take that. And these buys, I'm taking these buys to the moon. To the moon. We'll see though. We'll see, unless the market wants to drop even lower. That's perfectly fine. Like if I go to the higher time frames, like there's clearly going to be more setups. I do like this one here, right? This was the original one. It's just unfortunate that we didn't break above the highs, right? Liquidity, boom, swept it, went crazy, retested. But this lower or this higher low, we didn't break above these highs. Kind of suspicious. So we'll see. Maybe he wants to go again, one more setup. Then that's strong enough. We'll see. And obviously, like, there's another one down here as well. Like this is even better. Like if we got this one, I'm putting everything on it. I'm holding these forever. Like, bruh. Like that's gone. Liquidity. Actually, if you really want to get technical, like this is liquidity. Like all this from here. Liquidity. And then we sweep it. Gone. Gone. So if price does come back here, that would be crazy. Like you would have to wipe out 20%. That's not a lot. 20% loss, clearing these lows, these lows, these lows. Like that's a lot of setups. Liquidity, sweep, gone. Liquidity, sweep, gone. Liquidity, sweep, gone. Over and over and over. So it's like a couple of setups here. Very nice. Very nice. What does this fib say? We did come back to the 50%. Sheesh. Gone. See? The minimum requirement. Patience. Price came back to the 50%. They got half off right here. This was August 1st. 50%, fam. And if you look over here, what is this again? Oh, liquidity sweep. Oh, mitigation. 50%. And it's in your setup. Stop loss right there. Sure. I'll take that. Take that. What is that? 2,000? Imagine having a couple 0.01s. Boom. Under leveraged. Sure. So we'll see. And then if I move it up closer to this setup, boom, 886. Okay. And then if I go from this low to these highs, right? To this high right there. Again, waiting for that 50%. So let price consolidate and fuck around. Go ahead, do your thing. I'll wait. And then even more confirmation. What is this? Imbalance? Sure. I'll take that. And I guarantee you there's probably a setup right here. Probably is. I see that we swept liquidity. How can you tell? This is a low, right? We swept it. Boom. Interesting. And then if you go up here, what is that? That's a high. And broke above that high with a full body candle. So let me go to the 4 hour. So let's look at that closer. Literally, that's the setup, fam. That's the setup. I'm sure you see it, but this is low, high, swept it, broke above. Maybe on the 1 hour it looks a little bit better. It's there. It is there. It's not the prettiest. I'm not going to get too technical with you, but technically it's this one. Because this is the last high before we dropped and swept these lows. So, we had the low, we had the high, and then we swept barely beneath it and then broke above. That just so happens to be, and of course, hold on, there's one here as well, right? We broke above these highs. I'm just gonna mark this up because we might come back down here. Boom, stop loss right there. Low, high, sweep, break above, retest, and then we create more liquidity. Boom, we make this high, and then this high is strong enough to sweep all this liquidity, still respecting this original setup here, stop loss being there, remember, and then boom, price flies. So this whole area just so happens to be where? At the 50% 618. This will be freaking nasty. That will be nasty. Like if they really want to get technical. But it's only 6%. I don't know if that's enough. I'm not sure how serious this crash is going to be, allegedly. But we'll see what they want to do. Yeah, that's a huge range. And then if I make it smaller, 50% is right here. And of course, like, that's fine as well if you want to do that. If we're using this range here, because, you know, these lows were strong enough to break above these highs. Right? These lows right here were strong enough to push all the way up here, breaking above these highs. Right? These highs right here. Broke above that. Broke above that. So if we do get something down here, that's, you know, 2%. Okay. Because there's a buy setup here. Very strong buy pressure. We'll see what happens. I know I'm kind of just dragging this on, but I just went super in depth right now. I don't know where this came from. But I hope you guys got some value. If you did, let people know. Let them know. Are you trading NAS? Let's trade this. Let's make some money. Let's hold this shit. I'm more of a swing trader. I can scalp. I can intraday. Like, I don't discriminate. I can counter trend trade, whatever. But I know what works best for me, and I think it works best for a lot of new traders who are just starting off, especially if you're trading indices. Just stick to the trend. Under leverage. You don't got to do all this crazy extra stuff. Just keep it simple. But that's going to be it. It's going to be it.